Hey, Stephen Peterson here. I've got this special little book. I'll tell you all about it here in just a minute, and I've got my acorn. But I'm here to tell you that you don't need a lucky break. You don't need, the stars lining up. You just need to change one pattern in your life, one habit, one routine, and your whole life can change for the better. If you don't, you can have one. Someone was being interviewed on TV last week. She had a good job. She had gone through school, and one wrong thing happened. And she started a whole new habit, and it was a habit of drugs. And in a matter of weeks, her life was just about wiped out. Now, this is a good story in the sense that we're hearing the after version. She's back on track. She's getting her life back. In fact, maybe even getting a better life. But just one change and one habit. Get rid of one wrong person in your life. Get one one correct person in your life. Whole life can change. Well, see, that requires other people cooperating. What I'm talking about here on progress, what's this called? Patterns for progress. Patterns for progress. One pattern. And let me tell you, you should work on one pattern at a time. I've got this little acorn, but let me tell you this first. And that is, work on one thing at a time. I found a little book, Building a Better Life 1 month at a time. And the whole thing is changing patterns and changing habits and changing your life. But they said only work on one at a time. Now, the hard part about doing this program is before I do it, I'm working on one pattern. And in the middle of it, I think, man, I want to try that one, and I want to implement that one. And before you know it, I've got 5 patterns I'm trying to implement, and guess what? None of them get set in my life. None of them get solidified. So what I'm telling you works for me as well as you. One change at a time, one pattern. And I'd love to hear from you. If I say something or reference something like building a better life 1 month at a time, email me at patternsforprogress@gmail.com. I'm Stephen Peterson, but my email address is patternsforprogress@gmail.com. Should be on the screen now, I hope, but I know it'll be on later too. And I'll send you the link for that or tell you how to get that or anything else. And if you've got a pattern that changed, I mean, somebody didn't write me. They stopped me on the street and said, hey, I've gone on this low carb diet and he's lost 35 pounds in a month. And I'm thinking, man, I thought I was a carbaholic. And he was so excited. Now, I don't know if that pattern holds up long time because I was on a low carb diet. But you know what I discovered? I was a carbaholic. I needed to get more protein and different mixtures and different kinds of carbs. But see, he changed one thing and he felt like $1,000,000. He had to stop me on the street and tell me. Thank you. So one thing at a time, one thing at a time. And if you're having trouble with something, you say, give me a pattern that you think will work. Suggest one or two, or tell me one that's working. Email me, patternsforprogress@gmail.com. So I'm going to hit 3 or 4 patterns real quickly. And this book will come into play here in a minute. And but I want to tell you this, and this is the pattern. And it's a thought process change. It's not so much a pattern. I'm trying to see the oak tree in every area of my life instead of the acorn. I mean, I walked past this thing I don't know how many times. It's just an acorn. But it dawned on me, inside of this thing is an oak tree, 50, 60, 80, 100 feet tall. It's in there. Well, there's opportunities going by us, I believe, every day. And there's things in you that have never been developed, because you see it as an acorn instead of an oak tree. I'm not talking about some get-rich-quick scheme, Hey, do this, and overnight you'll be a millionaire, and overnight you'll lose 100 pounds. And in fact, almost all of my good change in my life has been slow and incremental, and I hate it. It's my personality to change. Let's change everything now. Let's not work on one pattern. Let's work on 10, 15, 20. The problem is they never become a habit. They never become part of your routine. They just get there in your head and you go, what a great idea. Now you've got to act on one of these. And so here's one I really want to push on you. Do not say things to yourself that you don't want to be true. Don't talk to yourself about how dumb you are, or how slow you are, or how many mistakes you make. You just don't want that. If somebody else said it to you, those might be fighting words. You might want to punch them. Well, don't say stuff about yourself you don't want anybody else to say. And don't say anything about yourself that you don't want to come to pass. Oh, if I do this, I'll probably really mess up, or I'll end up declaring bankruptcy, or me. There's enough negative things in life. There's enough real problems in life without you making up some. Quit speaking against yourself. Quit speaking against your destiny. Quit speaking against your potential. Quit speaking against your future. Just stop it. What's that old Bob Newhart thing? Stop it or I'll put you in a box. Well, I won't put you in a box, but stop it. You build a better life 1 month at a time. 1 month. For some of you watching, maybe even me, but I'm working on one thing at a time, and I'm not working on this right now. You should write down every negative thing you hear yourself say, and then say, no, I'm never going to say this again. I don't want that. Keep track of it. I've got this little book because I'm constantly looking for things on habits and patterns and routines and change, principles, paths, those kind of things, process. Now here is a pattern and a process all wrapped into one. And it's a little tiny book, and it says you can rewrite your brain so you'll be happy. This is for people who are just, you see the glass half full. Half empty, not half full. You don't just see it half empty, you see it half empty and broken and spilling all over the carpet. In other words, you have a tough time being happy. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I'm working on it because it's only 21 days. It says do this for 21 days, and in 21 days, your brain is going to be rewired so you'll be a happier person. You don't have to try it. I'm in my 3rd day at this, and it says write down 3 things you're thankful for, 3 things you're grateful for in your life. Write them down. And I added, write them down and say them out loud. You don't have to tell anybody else. If you tell somebody else, they'll say, really, that's the best? But 3 things you're honest, and I've got them written down. My little book is kind of closed up because I wasn't going to show you anyway. But it's written down in a book. And I say it out loud. Now, I've only been saying it out loud to myself once a day. I'm going to start doing that more than once a day. I'm actually talking to myself. Here's 3 things that are priceless. And when I started thinking, at first I thought, 3? Well, before you know it, I had more than 10. And I wasn't overtly or noticeably grateful for any of them. I went, I've got a lot of things to be thankful for. Do you know what I was concentrating on? I was concentrating on what I didn't have. And a wise man told me a long time ago, everybody has something, nobody has everything. Quit looking at what your neighbors have. Years ago, oh my goodness, this has got to be 15, 20 years ago, I went to Sears when people still shopped at Sears, and I found a propane barbecue, and I brought it home. I don't even know what I fitted in. I think I had to borrow a friend's truck, and when I pulled it up, my next door neighbor's wife said, how can I keep up with the Petersons? Well, I found this thing at Sears. I didn't go to, I don't think there was an Amazon to go to. It wasn't some fancy thing. I got it 2/3 off. Why would you want to keep up with me? I didn't know she felt that way, and I thought, what a silly thing. Now, I'm not making fun of her, but whoever you're trying to keep up with, your boss, your ex, your whoever, stop it. Write down 3 things you're thankful for, 3 things you're grateful for. Say them out loud. And according to this book, if you do this every day for 21 days, in 21 days you will have rewired your brain, retrained your brain, and you'll be a happier person. Now, I'm working on one thing at a time. I'm not sure see, the problem with me, I want everything right now. So between this program and next program, I might find 2 or 3 more. Well, I'd rather do that. But I do believe the premise of the first little book I told you about, building a better life 1 month at a time. But the first thing it says, work on one thing at a time. Another, and all these are just little books because, how do you write a great story on changing your life and changing patterns? It said, go for small, incremental change. Not some, see, everything I want is big and I want it to be dramatic and spectacular and supernatural. Boom, look at this. But real change is done one at a time. You're lousy at sit-ups. You can only do 2 sit-ups. We'll do those 2. And in less than a week, you'll be able to do 3 or 4. And in no time at all, you may not be the sit-up champion, but where you were weak, you will be much better. Small, incremental change. Well, I'm going to work out 2 hours a day. Try working out 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day. I had these big goals for working out, and man, I'm going to walk because I read all the benefits to walking, and I'm going to walk, and I'm going to do this. Well, one, it's been too hot lately, and then too smoky, at least here in Utah, to walk outside. So I'm walking on a treadmill. Well, instead of walking for 2 hours or 3 hours or even 1 hour, I'm trying to get 1.25 miles to 1.5 miles every day because I can do that. Not every day, every other day. Every other day. Start with something small. Do you know what it does when you start something and you succeed at it? It builds confidence. It builds strength. It brings joy. I'm telling you, you got to see the oak tree instead of the acorn. Start now. Start small. One whole book. It's a book smaller than this. You know, I opened the first page. It said, start now. Start small. I threw that thing down. But I realized I hadn't started anything because of that book. So it challenged me. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to start now. I'm going to start small. I'm going to work on one at a time. And I've told you, every time I do a program, I think of another 2 or 3. Oh, I like that idea, and I like this idea. Or somebody emails me and says, this is working. But you know what? Study after study after study, and I know there's a bunch of you out there. I can do several at a time. How many changes in your life have you done? Several at a time, and you've been successful at making them a part of your life, making them a part of your habit, your routine. Me, none. Here's the other thing. Start small, start now, next page. That's all it was on the first page. Start now, start small. Next page, lose the guilt. Whatever you've decided to do, because again, what happens when I record this program, I think, oh, I was going to do this, and then I start to feel guilty. You're not going to change for the better. You're not going to implement and put permanent, good, successful habits in your life if you're always looking at what you've done wrong. Now, maybe you're not a recovering perfectionist like me, so you got to lose the guilt. You got to be for you. You got to be your own cheerleader. Now, I wouldn't do this in front of anybody else, but you've got to say kind things. You're doing good. You started small. You've started now. This is no place to quit, and this is no place to give up. See, Patterns for Progress is a program that says you don't need to win the lottery. Now, I'm not against if you win it. Just remember me. You don't need to have friends in high places. Now, if somebody shows up and really wants to help you, that's great. But by changing one pattern, you can break through. You don't have to be the most talented, the most gifted, the strongest, but you change one pattern. You get rid of one poor, underperforming pattern and get one good, successful pattern. Your life will never be the same. I'm Stephen Peterson, and I've run out of time, but I want you to email me. Tell me where you're struggling. Tell me where you're succeeding. If you're looking for a link to anything I told you about, just email me. patternsforprogress@gmail.com. Should be on the screen. Oh, I hope it is. patternsforprogress@gmail.com. I'm Stephen Peterson. Appreciate you watching, and I even appreciate more when I hear from you. Hope you'll join me next week.